It's not your fault.
Maybe he's got a date.
Out here, the health fair.
Just be careful.
George, move yours up too.
I know it.
That one day.
I'll be calm today. I won't knock stuff over.
Let's call the meeting to order. First time is to turn off your cell phones.
Yeah, better do that.
Vibrate. Next item is minutes,
Move on them.
Second.
discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gloria.
Claims. Move on the claims.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gloria.
Today we're having the health fair, and it runs from 10 to 2, and we'll have food downstairs, and we ask if you could help serve the food for 15 minutes each or 20 minutes, something like that, whenever it works in your schedules. Otherwise, United Ways has catered that. Fairway, or Hy-Vee has catered that, and then United Way, we need to turn in our slips today. And then also during the month of November is the time that any employee can make a change to their benefits. Flex, you have to sign up for. The rest only if you want to make changes. So if you make no changes to the health or dental, then you don't have to do anything.
Okay. Approval of memorandum of personnel transactions.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll pass it around for signature. You need the authorization to initiate the hiring process.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Gloria.
Next item is approval of the notice of sale of property parcel number 280635 for the 12th day of November at 10:15.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is from Jackie back in June of 12.
Wow.
Another notice of property sale parcel number 220035 for the 12th day of November at 10:17.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need approval of resolution notice of property sale for parcel number 220050 for the 12th day of November at 10:19.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the County Sheriff's Supervision quarterly report and year-to-date report.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Addie.
The agenda item we have here is for the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program. All the documentation or the numbers have been signed in, and the, the amount available back in the county this year is the $32,355. Those funds have to be used for corrections, and I need to I gave you the overall categories there. I've checked with the sheriff's office as to what their intent would be to use those funds within. And then I've checked back with the USDOJ person who has said that their intent is for usable type services. So what we need to do is accept the grant funds and sign the document for informing that that has been done.
Is there a motion?
I move on the acceptance of the grant funds.
Second. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorize and designate county personnel, which is Patty, to electronically submit acceptance.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we need a motion to identify the eligible uses.
Well, the category that it comes down under, yeah, because I have to designate that on my grant application, is technology involving offender management, interagency information sharing. That would be the broad category that it would serve under. And then they have three items in there that they would like to address.
Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Abstain.
carries. Thanks, Betty. Mr. Nara.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mark.
Our first item is the approval of the contract for Portland cement concrete pavement patching at various locations in the county. Majority of these are down in the southern part of the county where we've had pavement breakups or blow-ups. And the contract is with Cedar Falls Construction Company. The total bid estimate price is $69,252.48.
Move the chairman be authorized to sign.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second item I have for today is to discuss the complaints that we've received at the Peters Pit from a neighbor in the area concerning our water use and our operations of the county-owned pit. This pit, just to give everybody a little history or refresher memories on the history, was purchased by the County Secondary Road Department and the County Conservation Department. The desire of working this was to expand the size of the water area out there, make a better, more stable fishery for recreational purposes, and to have a good source of gravel for the county's secondary road needs. As the board is probably familiar, and I think you've been contacted each by the property owner across the road, he feels that our operations out there have negatively impacted his use of his land. I'm skeptical of whether that has in fact happened. I think our operations there coincided with the beginning of a very extended dry period and drought. We're seeing surface water sources all over the county that are down 2 to 3 feet, even our own Little Sioux Park across the road from this facility. We've spoke with the Nelsons on a number of occasions. The most recent was in October 7th, I think it was, where Supervisor Tripp and I went out and visited with the family that owns property across the road. Been trying to look for a way, even though I'm skeptical as to whether we're causing it, we've tried to be a good neighbor. One of the things we've done out there this year is we've changed our operation. We used to discharge our water as we would draw down our pit to the county road ditch and to the creek that lays to the west, where ultimately we'll cross the Little Sioux River. This year we've started discharging water to the wetland areas that surround the county shooting range. And in fact, we found that that had a positive impact on their water levels. So, you know, it's my recommendation that we continue that for as long as we're operating in the pit. The equipment for the contractor who does the work for us, which is Hallett Materials, is not pulled out yet. I'll be able to give you a better estimate of how much longer we'll be able to operate after we take measurements this year of what we actually pulled out with the 60,000 tons we mined out of the pit. But I'm estimating we've got between 3 and 5 years of gravel that we can pull out of there. For the most part, it's been very good material for us. This year we did not draw the pit down quite as far. We were able to find pretty good seam of gravel up a little higher. Next year, I think we're going to have to be drawing that pit down again about 11 feet, which is the level at which we drew it down in 2012. That's when our complaints from the Nelsons started. Looking at the situation out there, I think the board really has two alternatives, and one is that we quit producing material there. We take what we've got and we call it quits. This might satisfy them. We wouldn't have any groundwater impacts. They'd be at the mercy of whatever environmental effects that the rest of us are. And again, we found that there's a number of things. The river level's about 2.5 feet lower in the Correctionville area than it used to be. We're seeing record low flows on the Little Sioux River in that area, back to levels that go back to when the pit was originally, when the river started being measured in the early 1980s. We're seeing water almost as low as during the drought period at that point in time. And, you know, again, the groundwater is something that's very difficult to quantify. Pumping down a surface water source, it isn't like drawing down a well. You know, a well has a very long curve where that water table will follow the well down, and it varies, if you remember your old math, by the square of the distance away from the well. The farther away from the well you are, the less effect that the drawdown in the well has. But again, that's not the way surface water sources work. If we do continue operations out there, we've obtained a quotation to put in a series of monitoring wells surrounding our property. One would be directly between us and their primary pit on the Nelson side of the road, and the others would be on our perimeters so that we can monitor water elevations not just during operations but around much of the year. This winter, I think we're going to be looking at every 2 weeks going out there and monitoring our groundwater elevations in the pit at Little Sioux and in any wells that we might put in. But this would at least put us in a position where we know if we would have an effect on groundwater as we move. We'd be roughly 600 feet from the wells, roughly 150 feet from Nelson's puddle. If we, you know, as we draw down the water, we would be able to see if we're making any impact on the groundwater table before and after operations. When you look at it over the number of tons we're likely to draw out of there, if we pull 60,000 tons per year of gravel out of that source, we're talking tenths of a penny per ton that having those wells in place would add. And it would actually allow us to do the hydrologic study needed to actually see whether we're having an impact on neighboring properties or not. You all received my memo. I had 3 recommendations in there. We have frequently offered to expand the area of their pit. You know, ours holds much more water because it's larger. Enlarging their area there would give them an opportunity for more water. This isn't something that I recommend as because we think we're doing them any damage, but again, it's just an attempt to be a good neighbor, recognizing that this is a water supply for their livestock. I think the hydrologic study will show whether or not we have any effect on it. It would be up to the board whether we do that or continue to make that offer. I didn't figure we should take it off the table though at this point. The other suggestion is that we put in the monitoring wells at an estimated cost of about $2,900. That would put 3 wells surrounding us about 20 feet deep with locking caps so they can't be tampered with. I'm trying to remember what my third deal was in there.
Well, it's just discharge water into the.
To the wetlands.
Wetlands.
The wetlands.
And that we would continue our operations to the wetlands. Now that we have a discharge pipe in place, there's no reason for us to look at throwing the water anywhere else but keeping it on our property. That seemed to benefit them, and they actually saw their water level go up when we were pumping. As opposed, last year I'm not sure that we took groundwater or surface water elevations even on their property last year, and we didn't see drops that coincided with our pumping, but we did see drops that coincided with the Nelson's use. And the biggest end of it is I think their source is just so small it never has a chance to recharge.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think we've been working with this landowner for the last at least 2-3 years, and he's contacted every supervisor in trying to resolve his situation there. And I think our county engineer, in fact, I know our county engineer, has looked at every alternative to try to help this property owner. We've even, you've left out some things. We've even pumped water across the road to them.
Yes.
We've transported water, and we've transported water in water tanks and that kind of thing. And you've done a pretty good, not a pretty good, but a real thorough job here of analyzing what the situation is out there. And I'd like to take your recommendations, because that does give us an opportunity to monitor, the water levels. I do like, the recommendations from the standpoint you are pumping, the water that you do have to pump back into a wetlands area, which is environmentally very, very good for the area out there. But based on, my experience, and I think your thorough investigation of this thing, I don't think that we're having a negative effect on his property. I've been out there several times and looked at that myself, and it's just, I'm no engineer, but I don't think that we're having a physical effect on his landmass over there. I really don't. And some of the deals that we've offered him, they're all really good options for him, and he hasn't taken advantage of a lot of them. But I'd like for us to take these recommendations, Mr. Chair. So I would move that we adopt the 3 recommendations that the county engineer has provided us this morning for that area, and I think it will, over time, help him once this drought is over with.
I'd like to, elaborate on that. This has been a long couple months for me with Mark. We have went out there a couple times. Actually, I went out there one time on my own, and these are very good recommendations, because we can't get an answer on what he would like to do. And I think by giving him the option, we basically appease him by doing that. If he doesn't take the offer, then I think this board has done everything they could. Because Rick Schneider, we've contacted everybody. We've got geological studies, we've got this and that, and I don't feel that us getting the gravel out of the pit is doing anything to that pond. So
Is that a second,
Great
Dave?
help in-
that will be a second.
Rick was a great help in obtaining
Yes.
some of this data. He's been working with the fisheries and the Iowa Department of Natural Resources staff, and did assist with the research for this.
I have been out there a couple times.
We've all been out there.
It seems to me the elevation of the Nelson property is higher than the pit, which is higher than the river or creek. So it's all running down. You can't push water uphill. And if you're pumping that in the wetlands, and that's creating a benefit, great. I don't know that there's a solution to some of that.
Rain.
Rain, snow, yeah, we need it all.
But just to give you an example, in September 4th of 2012, when we started with the round of complaints and we took water surface elevations out there, our pit elevation at that point was 1105.34. Their property was 1112.94, so a little over 7.5 feet higher with their water level than what our pit was. Now, when we came back in and next pumped on the 24th of September, the elevation in the pit, it had recovered some, but it was at 1109.23, or 5 feet higher than that initial reading. And their level was 1111.43. So it hadn't, it was about a foot of variance in the time when our pit had recovered. The days after pumping, we didn't see half a foot of variance in what theirs elevation was, and that was the year when we were allowed on the property to monitor. That's one of the things I think that's good with the monitoring wells, is that we'll be able to really ascertain what groundwater level is, and independently of having to get onto somebody else's property.
Yeah, that's good.
Were you out there, Jackie?
I was out there, but I just agree with everything that's been said. I'm not going to venture any engineering guesses at the moment, but I do appreciate the time you've put into this, Mark, and you too, Dave, and really all of us trying to come up with sound recommendations based on data, based on data, so.
Yeah, and we've offered him a number of solutions.
A lot of good ones.
He hasn't taken advantage of any of them, so put it in writing, have the county attorney bless it, and send him a letter.
Very good. Do you want that signed by the chair or signed by me?
Matter. First, we better make sure the motion
Yeah,
passes.
we better see what they want in the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You can go ahead and draft the letter, I'll be happy to sign it.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Next item is discussion and possible action of relocation of social service department. Mark, Jackie,
Well, just a little bit of history. For myself, I wanted just a little bit more time and try to gather some more information before agreeing to a move. Mark and I did go down and took, a walkthrough, talked to city assessor, didn't do any other data gathering other than looking at the space. At first blush, it seemed like a easy solution to move social services into the city assessor's office along with where they were. I'm not sure that I continue to agree with that. I personally, and Mark and I didn't necessarily come together with a joint report on this, so he may have different viewpoint on this, but I think we need to move Al up to 5th floor and move social services out to Triview, and that would be my motion.
that's a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second the motion. I'll second it for discussion.
I'd like to hear from Mark.
I guess this is a very expensive move, and we really haven't gotten any data on why we are doing this. It's basically been, we've drawn these things up and we want to make a move. I guess I'd like to see a lot more information on why we would do that. I was at a meeting last Friday in Cherokee Mental Health, and there were a couple CPC people there along with supervisors from 6 counties, and it was news to me, but there's a thing called Integrated Health Home that's a part of the Obama process and state level, and they all believe that the case management will go under that organization. Some of it started across the state. No one is sure what we're getting for money. No one is sure what case management looks like because there's no definite money. So I'm confused. Adding more people at this point, I think, is not wise because we don't know. They may not be our people. I understand that Plains Mental Health is going to try to establish integrated health home coverage in the counties they serve. So, I mean, the variables are tremendous.
This integrated health thing, is that federal for dollars that's coming in, or how is that going to be funded?
I'm guessing it's state and federal, but I don't know that we know.
I would, and Mark did bring that up to me, and as Larry knows, we do go to the regional mental health meetings once a month. That has not really been brought up as a possibility. What I will agree with is that there still are many unknowns in the future of the funding for services and maybe what exactly they're going to look like. It's a discussion that we have every month, that we still don't know where we're at with a lot of things. That was part of my hesitancy on moving social services out, but for me, we need a good office area where everyone can be under one roof, and if it changes 6 months down the road, a year down the road, then we make another decision based on what the facts are at that time. It's just, all you can do is make a decision with the facts that you have at this time and the best knowledge. So things may look differently, but people still do need office space, and if we end up with no case managers, then maybe we sell a building. I don't know.
Yeah, to whoever takes over the
whoever
operation.
takes over. At least it's all ready to go and set up well, to work out of that office. So,
Well, before Patty speaks, this problem's been going on for quite a while, and under Obamacare, you get tired of waiting on the state and the federal government because you can be waiting on them for 10 years. And we've got a problem. We've had this problem for a couple of years now as far as staff. And we've just sold the property in Climbing Hill, and that is mental health funds. And so the funds are available. It's through mental health. I just think it's time to get that building reconfigured and move them out.
it truly would not have been my first choice on how to use those dollars.
No, mine either.
You know, as a service provider, I always want to put it into services, but at the same point in time, we need to make sure that the office is running well, that people are focused on what their job is on a day-to-day basis, and at this point in time, I don't see that happening unless we get them together and start getting back to what their job is.
Yeah, it's-
Was this the motion to move not only social services, but also the
It was.
Al Jordan's
Yes.
operation to the 5th floor?
Yes.
Which I think is necessary because we've had a few issues down there in that area too, particularly that venting thing. And
How about if we take them in two
If he
separate?
wants to
separate
move.
motions?
Larry, I don't think that the moving the city assessor's office is properly on the agenda today.
No, it's
No.
not.
No, but we should
We'll
be
have to
talking
wait.
about
I'll
that
make
and
my
discussing
motion
it.
and just do social services.
Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to?
One, I just want to, integrated health homes, Woodbury County was the pilot county for that, and it started July 1, 2013. It only affected chronically mentally ill for case management. We had that question answered about 7 or 8 months ago, that it did not affect or impact mental retardation or intellectual disability case management services. That's why we proceeded with this. Siouxland Mental Health is performing integrated health homes, and we continue to work with them. But we did lose our case management program for the mentally ill. That's the only population that's been designated for. We were the pilot county in the state of Iowa. It's been up and operating since July 1, and we've taken advantage of it by referring people to them for services. So it's a concept that kind of seems to work well, but it does not, they have not found a way to make that program fit and work for the intellectually disabled. So for the time being and in the foreseeable future, they have no plans to take in the targeted case management for the intellectually disabled. So that's where we're at with that. But integrated health homes is a concept that's alive and well in Woodbury County and serving people already.
And we're the only county that's doing that on a pilot basis, and are we a test?
It was the first phase.
First phase,
One,
uh-huh.
Suwannee Mental Health has the contract with DHS and Magellan and whoever else is all involved with that. And they've been performing that since July 1. So now there's going to be, 2, 3 other phases. They were trying to move them up. Some of the other locations, I think Polk County probably will go live January 1 if they haven't already. And then the eastern block of counties. The larger metro areas is where they're focusing. They'll have them up and running. And then the integrated health home concept will be across the entire state by, I'm going to guess, the end of 2014.
So they use this as a model to start up the other ones?
Yeah.
Kinda? Okay.
Identified it-
We're the guinea pig.
Well, but I think everybody was pretty prepped for it and knew what was going to be happening. We knew it didn't involve our population, and we had them state that in a number of meetings down in Des Moines. So we're ready to go and continue on, and that's what the future is for us.
Okay.
Questions, Patty?
I don't.
Okay. Any other questions, of the board? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
4 to 1.
Thank you.
Al, as long as you're here, you do have a desire to move to 5th floor. And you've got that all square footage figured out, the whole 9 yards. You have the measurements and everything so that the 5th floor is going to work for you.
Yeah, it's the exact same size as the space we have in the basement.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda next week.
Okay, so that motion didn't carry.
No, it's not,
It's not on the agenda
Oh, I see.
next week.
Okay, thank you.
Butler.
Butler.
Two things should be thinking about. One is should pass the motion to relocate them out there. When do they have permission to go out for bid on a project? Does that gotta be another motion, or that be on the agenda next week for permission to bid out the project? Second, does the move take effect after completion of the project? If not, are they staying down there till the project's completed? Those are 2 questions we need to think about here. But mainly, to get it on the road, you're gonna have to bid it out.
I think that's already,
You haven't approved to bid it out yet. I know.
need a motion to bid it out?
Yes, we do.
Authorize
I beg your pardon.
Got to be on the agenda.
I think that could fairly be included in the
Action item.
taken.
Oh,
That's fine with me. I seconded it, I think.
Do we need a separate motion to do that?
No.
I didn't think so.
Because you're holding off to decide if you were gonna relocate. The second is, do they move out after it's completed, or do they stay down until it's completed?
They would have to stay there until it's completed.
Not really. I would like to move them out of there because like we have some circulation problems. Move them up on the 8th floor, they can jam themselves in there until that remodeling is taken care of. And we're going to get Al with his move going to get started soon after we get this on the agenda for next week, because I'm not sure, but we might pass that move next week.
So you want on the agenda next week to move them?
To the 8th floor, everybody. Not everybody, but the social services group.
Jackie, you're looking puzzled.
Well, I guess, does it require a motion, or is that just an internal decision? We can just say, move them up there.
it ain't going to cost any money.
I'm sorry, I can't
It
hear.
wouldn't cost any money. It's not
time.
gonna cost money, it's
It's
just gonna
time and
cost
effort.
time.
I don't know if I buy that.
Well, the computer, linkage up there is, I don't know what that's all about.
The computers are already, you can get computers up there.
They had computers before, but I don't know how it's set up for social services.
All right, well, let me visit with Patty and come back to you.
Okay.
All right, we're the part of the agenda, any hearing of any individual or group that wish to make a presentation.
James Imbruggen, Taxpayers Research Council, 516 Nebraska Street. I'd like a little bit more elaboration. George just mentioned that there's circulation problems. Could you?
Well, I'm talking about specifically in the assessor's office. We've always had a problem with the intake, diesel fuel, SIMs coming into that area. And
You said diesel fuel smells?
yeah.
From the alley.
When
From the alley.
semis are in the back, it sucks right in the air intake and goes right into their office.
And it circulates through the whole downstairs down there. And that hasn't been good for a long time. And I know that there's been discussion months back, in fact, years back, that that's been a problem. And I think especially now.
And was there anything mechanically you could do to?
We did. We went down there, and I think that I would have to get Mark Elgert up here, but we did some modifications on what to do down there, and we did it. I don't know how much money we spent. I think it was about $200,000, and it didn't work.
Well, Mark and I, walked through with Mark Elgert and asked him if there was anything that could be done to remediate that, and he did not feel that there was anything more that really could be done just by, don't ask me any probing questions because it's not my area of expertise. So where the air handlers are located, you just can't really move them. If you could get people not to park in the alley, perhaps. That might help, but.
He did comment that most of the buildings in downtown have intakes at street level, and it's a problem.
That's existed for a long time. My sense of smell is terrible. But when I go down there, I can smell it. And that's strong as far as I'm concerned, because my sense of smell is absolutely bad news.
I mean, there's some air purifiers in at least one of the offices, cardboard in the, so.
If there's an actual air quality issue, that would make a better argument for moving people out of the
Yeah,
basement
and
than what's
Yeah.
been presented before.
Yeah, we should have looked at
Exactly.
that long ago, but
And as we look to reconfigure or reuse the space, we will further, at least in my opinion, want to look at those issues, and if there's further remediation that could happen, maybe we could look at it. Right now, it does not seem like an easy fix, and so you have to weigh how cost-effective it is. But we do have other available space, so looking at safety, health, welfare of workers, in my mind, it just seemed like the best option to utilize the other space and continue to investigate either moisture problems or air problems in the basement.
Thanks, James.
Does anyone else in the audience wish to be heard? I've got one item. I forwarded you, I thought, the Attorney Boulder's questions. Well, I didn't quite get it completed, but I think you've got it now.
We do have it now.
You do have it now. I could use an answer on that. And also, I could use, for the Economic Development Director, people you wish to interview. And if I could get those this week, then we can get it on the agenda possibly for next week.
Okay.
will we have someone contact those individuals so that we can set up interview
Yeah.
times with them? I would like
And that's
that.
what I'll do
Yeah.
as soon as I've
Okay.
got Jackie's, I've got mine.
Okay, you don't have
If I
mine.
get the other three, we can compile it and see where we're at. Has anybody else got anything? We got the health fair, and apparently we're serving lunch.
They're serving lunch, I guess, yeah. Move we had recess or adjourn to
We stand
health
adjourned.
fair. Karen, where can I find out how much I
Patty?
gave last year on this? Oh, yeah. it is.
That one's from my office, I'll be right there. Well, apparently, Pat, you're not very important. You're at the end of the list.
Hey, no, I don't want to go back and forth. I want to stick to one topic.
Tell